All right, let's get right into it. If you're a top-tier aesthetic practitioner, you're not just looking for the next new device. You're looking for a real edge, a fundamental shift that can elevate your entire practice. Well, today we're going to break down a framework that does exactly that. It uses the power of neuroscience to make your incredible results stick, not just on the face, but at the level of a patient's identity.
Does this sound familiar? You've just performed a technically perfect treatment. I mean, the results are objectively flawless. Your patient looks in the mirror, and then they look back at you and ask this one incredibly frustrating question. It's that moment where you know something deeper is missing.
And that, right there, is the core of the problem. You've masterfully handled the anatomy, but you haven't been given the tools to address the internal story she's been telling herself for decades. This disconnect, it's not just some vague feeling. It's a very real issue that directly hits your patient retention and, maybe even more importantly, your referrals.
So, let's put on our clinical hats for a moment. What's the actual diagnosis here? This isn't about abstract psychology. No, this is about the concrete wiring of the human brain. To really understand what's happening, we have to look at the neuroscience of self-image.
The root cause is something we can call outdated neural pathways. Think of it like a deeply worn path in a forest. It's the story the brain defaults to, the one it's been telling itself for years, maybe decades, a story all about its flaws and insecurities. Your treatment changes the reflection in the mirror, but it doesn't automatically reroute that deep, ingrained neural story.
And what's really fascinating is how specific this gets. It's not just one thing. It's a team of 4 key brain networks that are basically conspiring to keep your patient stuck in the past. You've got the default mode network, which is like the library where the old self-concept is stored. Then there's the salience network, acting like a biased critic, constantly scanning for and highlighting perceived flaws. And while their central executive network is trying to focus on the positive changes you've made, the attention network keeps hijacking their focus, pulling them right back into that old insecurity loop. It's a powerful internal system that's actively working against your results.
So if that's the diagnosis, what's the prescription? Well, the solution is a structured, repeatable protocol. And let me be clear, this is not motivational fluff. This is a 6-step clinical framework, and it's specifically designed to help you deliberately restructure those brain networks. So here's a quick look at the whole framework. As you can see, it moves in a really logical way. It all starts with calming the nervous system, then clarifying what the patient really wants, neutralizing their fears, embedding that new self-image, turning it into real-world action, and finally letting go of the anxious attachment to the outcome. Let's just zoom in on step 2 for a second, because this is huge. The old way, we ask, what bothers you? And that immediately activates all the problem-focused circuits in the brain. The new way, we ask, describe the version of yourself you're becoming. It's a simple but profound shift in language that completely reframes the consultation and invites the brain to start building a new solution-focused vision. This is all about getting to the why that's hiding behind the what. When a patient says she hates her jowls, you help her dig a little deeper, and she reveals her true goal is to feel confident and present at her daughter's wedding. Suddenly, the treatment has this profound emotional weight. You're no longer just a practitioner. You're the facilitator of a core life memory.
And get this, let's talk about step 3, neutralizing those mental obstacles. Your patients have real fears, right? What if I look weird? Or does this make me vain? Well, your intervention here is incredibly powerful. Research actually shows that simply naming an emotion, saying the fear out loud, reduces activity in the amygdala by 30%. You are literally performing a clinical intervention that calms the brain's threat detection system.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how do I actually fit this into my insanely busy practice? Let's look at how this builds into a practical, new patient onboarding program that, and this is key, doesn't require a ton of extra chair time. The secret is to weave these coaching touchpoints throughout the entire patient journey. It actually starts before they even walk through your door with an email that primes their brain for transformation. It continues through the consult, the pre-treatment prep, and a series of post-treatment follow-ups that are designed to support their internal shift. Each step is intentional, and a lot of it can be automated. And now for the part that really matters to the health and future of your practice, the proof. Let's look at the actual numbers, the ROI, because this isn't just about making patients feel good. It's about building a more resilient, more profitable, and frankly, more fulfilling business. The data here is pretty compelling. A typical, high-end traditional practice might see a patient retention rate somewhere around 35%.
Okay, not bad. But practices that implement this kind of neuroscience-backed coaching see that number jump to 72%. You are nearly doubling patient loyalty. That creates an incredibly stable foundation for growth. And of course, that loyalty translates directly to your bottom line. Look at this breakdown of patient lifetime value. Without this framework, a patient might be worth, say, around $4,100 to your practice. With it, that value skyrockets to over $18,000. Think about that. You're not just adding a small service, you are multiplying the value of every single patient who walks through your door.
And let's not just gloss over the referrals. To me, this number, 4.1 referrals per coached patient, is a total game changer. Patients who go through this kind of transformation don't just come back for more. They become your most passionate evangelists. They bring in their friends and their family because they want them to have the same deep, meaningful experience.
Now, at this point, you might be thinking, hold on, I'm a doctor, not a coach. And you know what? That's a totally fair point. But here's the reframe. You are already coaching every single day. Every time you manage expectations, calm a fear, or build confidence, you're coaching. This framework just gives you an intentional, evidence-based structure to make that natural influence you have even more powerful. So, what's the big takeaway here? When we pull this all together, it's about so much more than a new technique. It's really about fundamentally reimagining your role in your patients' lives. This framework is what shifts you from being a commodity to being a true transformation expert. Let's be honest, any skilled competitor can offer great Botox. But when your patients stop saying that, and they start saying, "She changed how I see myself," you've created a unique value proposition that simply cannot be copied. Ultimately, this is the core idea. It's what separates a very good practice from a truly legendary one. Your incredible technical skill changes their face, but integrating this framework, that's what allows you to change their life. And so I'll just leave you with this one question. It's a question that goes way beyond anatomy, beyond injectables, and beyond any device. When you look at that person sitting in your chair, who will you help them become?